Cash or charge?
Oh, gosh. Cash, I guess. I mean, it's not deductible, is it?
Mrs. O'Toole will take care of your needs.
Boy, you know, I wish these were in color, because what I really am sort of in the mood for is a girl with green eyes. And price is no object, Mrs. O'Toole. Fresh off the boats the way I like them. The more exotic, the better.
Blood and Black Rum Podcast presents Big Trouble in Little China. Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from themooninsdeadworld.net and cultsploitation.com. I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And today we're back with a new episode, kind of stepping away from the horror stuff that we've been doing of late and heading into Kung Fu territory, some place that we've never gone before on this show.
Surprisingly.
I know, we haven't done any Kung Fu movies, no Bruce Lee features, no...
Fu Manchu.
Yeah, no, Kung Fu exploitation, or however you want to call it. I don't know what they call that exactly, but it's something like that. Yeah, we've never done it before, and it is surprising. And I would say that I am not very well versed in Kung Fu movies myself. That's one area that I really never checked into.
I like some.
You like some?
I mean, I haven't. I'm not an expert, but the ones I've seen, I like.
Yeah, I mean,
big fan of Jackie Chan's. You know, but I mean, his earlier stuff, right? Are you talking about? Yeah.
Police Story, stuff like that.
I love the Police Story.
Right.
I love those movies.
Yeah,
that's something I would love to do. Like all three Police Story movies.
I mean, we will at some point, I'm sure.
But that's not really Kung Fu. It's
no. Yeah, but you were saying Jackie Chan. I was thinking like probably not his later stuff, like not the Rush Hour series.
Yeah, I mean,
those are fun too. But
they're great. Chris Tucker's finest hour.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I would say that I've not seen very many Kung Fu movies. I've never seen a Bruce Lee movie. That's not true. I've seen like Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, I was gonna say we watched Enter the Dragon together.
But other than that, I haven't seen very many of them. And it's an area that I'm lacking in. Obviously, I want to rectify that. And today I did a little bit because I've seen a movie that's been a long time coming, which I've never seen before, which is Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
And that's one, that's something that's kind of been outside of my wheelhouse, and I don't really know why, but I think it's probably just because when I think of John Carpenter, I always think of his horror movies. But he actually has a lot more of an oeuvre than just, horror movies.
Yeah,
it's only a part of his directing and writing category. And I was saying when we were watching Big Trouble in Little China, it does seem like to me a little bit outside of the norm for what a John Carpenter movie would be like. But then thinking about it, he has dabbled in sort of action comedy. He's dabbled in straight up action like Escape from New York, Assault on Precinct 13. So it is and it isn't. Like, I think this is probably Big Trouble in Little China still remains like an outlier in John Carpenter's career. Would you agree with that?
No, I would. It's definitely, even though, he is known for his horror films, but he's done, different, genres. Like They Live's not a horror film. That's
right. It's more of a science fiction-y action sort of film. So, yeah.
But yeah, no, even still, even though this is an action comedy at its heart, if you're not even like specify it as like a Chinese mysticism, like Kung Fu type movie, at its heart, this is an action comedy.
Sure.
And
fantasy action comedy.
Yeah.
Because you do get some of those fantasy elements too, which we'll talk about later.
But, I mean, yeah, no, it definitely does seem kind of weird, especially when you think about the films that he did right before this, with like The Thing. It's like,
close to that time period. I mean, it's certainly not Escape from New York's like stoicism and its seriousness. For most of Escape from New York, it's like deadly serious. You know what I mean? There are little bits and pieces of like jokes and kind of like one-liners, I guess I would say.
Well, maybe Escape from New York actually was originally supposed to be a comedy, but Lee Van Cleef doesn't play that shit.
No.
Lee Van Cleef kept everyone on their game.
And probably in Donald Pleasance, too, was like, no thanks. Not doing the comedy bit. Just going to go straight for the serious, Broadway role. Like I said, I mean, I think it is and it isn't outside of John Carpenter's scope. And I from what we've seen, he's really a fan of kung fu movies, Chinese mysticism, and it shows in Big Trouble in Little China that there is at least some research done into the ideas of kung fu movies and obviously influential films of the kung fu filmography that comes out in Big Trouble in Little China, and it's also kind of a parody as well. There's those tropes that pop up, and it's almost like a humorous aspect to those that would normally be in a kung fu film.
Well, it's like a nice little love letter, like Mel Brooks.
Yeah, like an homage.
Like Mel Brooks with, Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. And
yeah, I think that's actually a perfect example of like what this would be like if you were trying to explain it to somebody who didn't really know what it was about. But who knew Mel Brooks, I guess. They'd have to know that prior to it. And they're like, well, I really know Mel Brooks' works, but, explain to me Big Trouble in Little China.
But if you don't know Mel Brooks, then you get the hell out of America.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Pulling a Steve Buscemi, like if you don't like spaghetti and meatballs, you can get the hell out of America.
Or go back and listen to our tribute to Mel Brooks that we did.
Yeah.
30-something episodes ago.
Young Frankenstein. Has it been that long ago?
It's been a while. Yeah.
I know it has been, but I'm just...
I mean, yeah, we're pumping out episode after episode. We're very prolific, so... And that's the good thing about our content. It's evergreen. Go back and listen. Who cares if we're on episode 81? Go back and listen to episode 35.
Well, you should be doing that anyway. You're that's a fan, right. You revisit. You like to revisit. I do that with like podcasts I listen to. Like, man, that was a really good, funny episode.
Oh, you actually revisit episodes?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not for us.
No, we don't go back and listen to our own stuff. We barely listened to it the first time. So, no, I don't go back and listen to our own stuff. But I can't say that I've ever gone back and listened to an episode again. But I guess like it would make sense, especially for us. Let's say you're watching Big Trouble in Little China and you heard this episode previously, and then you go back to rewatch it, and then you listen to it again. And you say, wow, those guys are really smart. They picked out a lot of interesting things about Big Trouble in Little China. And then we say, thank you very much, but yeah, that's why you're listening to us. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly why we're on the airwaves.
No, I definitely re-listen to some of my favorite podcast episodes because they're funny. Especially like some of them that are video podcasts. So it's,
people are probably going back to listen to our episodes for your impersonations.
Yeah, they should. Justin Long.
Do you have a Kurt Russell impersonation before we take a break? Get into the beer.
Well, if people could see my old hair, then yeah, it would just be me.
Oh, that's right. Martin used to have the Kurt Russell hair, and it was mostly Kurt Russell in The Thing style. It wasn't like Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China. Because you had the full beard.
I don't have the boots either.
No, you don't have the boots here either.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start wearing tight jeans and cowboy boots. That's a look that just never gets old.
We definitely plan on covering The Thing at some point. So you got to grow that beard back out, and then the picture for that episode is just gonna be you coming out of the freezer at your work with snow in your beard.
Or we're gonna
just have it. Yeah,
we'll just have to do the thing when we get a blizzard up here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you go outside
and I get done snow blowing and shoveling, and just have a picture of me like.
Yep. Because there was a picture
just be like, drink this
of you looking just like Kurt Russell in The Thing. And you should be drinking some whiskey along with it.
Gasoline.
Yeah, then you got the perfect look. You're a cosplayer at that point.
You know what? I will go to some convention as Kurt Russell.
For Halloween, you should go as Kurt Russell.
There you go. I'll be Kurt Russell for Halloween.
With the syringe and the petri dish or something.
Well, I also got told at work too, because when I wear my face mask in the freezer, my mustache, like part of my beard sticks out, and at one point my mustache, I haven't shaved my mustache in forever, so it's pretty thick, if I don't mind saying. And it was sticking out, and I had like icicles on it. I had one guy say, I look like Kurt Russell in Tombstone.
Okay.
He expected me to go like, draw, boy! And he's like, did you get the reference? I'm like, yeah, I have seen Tombstone several times, and I love Kurt Russell, so thank you for the compliment.
There you go. That was a compliment. It's nice.
Get to be Wyatt Earp.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll talk about the beer that we've got on the show today, which doesn't really correspond with the Chinese theme of Big Trouble in Little China.
Because we're not good at pairing things.
Yeah, that's right.
The planning,
the planning actually fell to the wayside this week because we are recording early, so that was part of the issue. And also the other issue is I didn't think of it until last minute while we were watching the film, so that sucks for me, and you didn't think of it either, so can't put all the blame on
No,
me.
because I was kind of thinking, like, what beer were they drinking in the movie, but they do drink beer quite a bit in this. But you don't really
And they reference Miller Lite.
Oh, did they?
It's Miller time, she says. She's when he first sees Kim Cattrall's character.
Well, this movie was brought to you by Puma and Miller Lite.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big part of it.
but I mean, so they are drinking, but you don't get to see the labels on the bottles. You just get to see, beer bottles.
Yeah, it's basically like green beer bottles.
So it could be Qingdao.
It could be. Yeah. Somebody's wearing a Qingdao shirt. So it's who knows that it may not be what they're drinking, but it kind of looks like it. So, but we don't have that, unfortunately. But we'll be back in a second to talk about the beer that we do have on the show today. Stick around. You guys, welcome back. We got some beer talk for you. And this one, I'm going to admit, was kind of thrown together last minute for this show.
As you already said.
That's right.
I don't think people join podcasts halfway through.
They could. You never know. Or maybe they just skip ahead and they get to our beer talk. They don't know.
Well, they're assholes. Don't do that.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to hear their intro. They never really pertain to the show itself.
How dare you have that thought?
Yeah, tell them.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Them.
Our intros are hilarious.
Yeah.
Works of art.
If you're listening to the intro and you're not liking it, chances are you're probably not listening to the rest of the show.
If you're not enjoying Kurt Russell having a good guffaw, nice chortle, something's wrong with you.
That's right. It's a good one. But today on the show, we have a non-Chinese beer. Fits perfectly. It's actually a Mexican beer.
And it's a Vienna lager.
And it's, apparently a Vienna lager as it's categorized. And I'm talking about Modelo Negra. Not Negro. Negra.
What was it saying?
Modelo Negra.
A Vienna lager makes sense if you know a little bit about Mexican history.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to scoff at it.
I'm just saying I didn't know that without looking it up that it was a Vienna lager.
I mean, I wouldn't have suspected it to be. Like I said,
Right,
I didn't suspect it either, but...
But Modelo Negra is basically, it's the black Modelo. It's a darker style of the original Modelo Cerveza.
Which for most beers, when they add the word dark to it, it means just like, this is our better batch.
Yeah, kind of. I mean...
Not in the case of Heineken.
Well, Heineken, I like Heineken dark, but it's super heavy.
I rather drink a Heineken. And beyond that, I rather drink a Heineken Light.
No, I agree. I like Heineken. I actually like those mini kegs of Heineken.
I don't because...
I know you don't, but...
Because it's too damn tinny. I can't even drink Heineken in a can. I can't. It has to be bottle.
I mean, I like Heineken quite a bit. But, yeah, I can see what... Yeah, and I like Heineken dark, but it's pretty heavy. But, I mean, that, again, is just an entirely different beer. It's definitely way different than Heineken.
No, I know.
Dark. With Modelo Negra, it's pretty similar to Modelo.
Have you had Dos Equis Amber?
Yes, I have. I don't have much to say about it. I can't say that I remember a distinctive taste to the Dos Equis Amber compared to regular Dos Equis. Well, so I
haven't tried Dos Equis Amber. All I know is Dos Equis regular.
Yeah,
it's just a very bland beer, and I'm very felt like when first time I bought it, I was swindled because those damn commercials are so great. Even with the new most interesting man in the world, he's not the old one, but he's still pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've had it. I can't compare it right now. I'd have to actually have it again because I don't really remember what it tastes like so much. But
you dropped $19 on 12 pack.
Yeah, I know. But this Modelo Negra, I like cervezas And I think this is a really good beer as a style of cerveza. I think I prefer it to regular Modelo, actually. It's just got a little bit of a heavier body to it.
I wouldn't say heavier.
Yeah, maybe not heavier.
To me, it's sweeter. It's definitely, you can definitely tell it's a Vienna lager just by the sweet characteristic of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I do like, because regular Modelo to me is just very unimpressive. It's
and sometimes with those cervezas, like Corona regular too, you run the risk of them being like strangely bitter, like strange, unappealing aftertaste to them.
which is weird because again, like Corona's like usually the light beer is not better than the regular. It's the case with the Corona, though. I think Corona Light's a million times better than Corona.
Yeah.
Same thing like Heineken. I mean, like, I like regular Heineken, but I do think Heineken Light's better than Miller. Miller Light's 1,000 times better than High Life.
Yeah.
If you ask me, but I mean.
But like with, Corona Light, there's not that like bitter aftertaste to it.
But it's like, yeah, it's not like watery.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Like
And
you imagine comparing like Bud to Bud Light.
Yeah.
Like Bud's got no flavor. Bud Light has absolutely nothing to offer you.
I think with like Modelo Negra is that you're getting a little bit more of a body to it. They categorize it as a medium body, which I would probably agree with. It's a medium bodied beer.
I'd still say it's light.
It's light, but I would say it's definitely heavier than the regular Modelo, and I think I would agree with a medium body. And then they say that it has slow roasted caramel malts, which I don't really have
It's a stretch.
Yeah, I don't get a distinct caramel taste to it. I think it may add some of that sweetness to it. That's it may add that sweetness that you're tasting.
But it's not malty though at all.
No, not super malty. I think probably most of the darkness comes from just added coloring.
Probably. Like I said, like for a beer that's Negra, I thought like it'd be something a lot, have a lot more body and maltiness to it. But this is a pretty light, very easy drinking beer.
I think they're sticking to that cerveza formula that you would think of in terms of like being able to drink it on a hot day.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying I thought because Heineken Dark's like way, and I haven't had it forever. But from what I remember, compared to regular Heineken, it had no hoppiness to it like Heineken does. It was all.
The day that we
malt.
drank the Heineken Dark,
it was hotter than balls.
It was a hot day. We were at a friend's party outside playing volleyball. Not a good time to have that Heineken Dark. I actually think I was sick the next day from drinking all of them. So, and that was probably my bad from drinking too much. But this doesn't have that same. It's not super heavy. It's still light enough to easily drink. You pounded yours. Yours is gone by. Normally, we're at least nursing one for this segment, but yours is gone.
It's hotter than hell right now.
Yeah, so, we record in a hot room. Trust me, I'm working on that. I'm working on getting a house that's has an area specifically for podcasting, so like a finished basement or something like that. Working on it, but don't know when that will be. But. You could also chip in the money for the mortgage if you'd like.
Am I getting my own room?
Or the Patreon page. Help us pay the mortgage. But
it's funny you joke about that, but I'm sure there's some people out there that have their page, like Alex Jones. Like Alex Jones is like,
no, fuck Alex Jones. Don't even bring him up on this show.
Constantly like,
don't even bring him up.
Telling people like, guys, thanks for the help. You keep us afloat. Every day we're on the brink of falling apart. So buy our, my survival kit bull shark testosterone.
Buy the humans are reptiles shirt.
Did you see that like John Oliver bit on him?
No.
Oh, it's great.
I don't even want to talk about Alex Jones.
It's great.
Fucking sucks. Doesn't even deserve any airtime on this show. But all right, so Modelo Negra, you said you wouldn't pick it up.
No.
If you were just in the store seeing it.
No, because for its price point, it's not worth it.
It actually wasn't too bad, but it's solid beer nonetheless. Like
it's good. It's good. I like it. I was actually surprised by how much I like it. But I mean, like I said, like for like how much Modelo usually costs. I'd rather just buy like a 12-pack Jenny Cream or Miller Lite.
I gotta say, it's pretty solid with Mexican food, because I did have it at a Mexican restaurant. Pretty good.
Look at you. There's no fucking Mexican restaurants around here.
Troy.
It's my dream for one day, like for somebody to open up an authentic Mexican restaurant around
That'd
here.
be awesome. That would be awesome.
We have like 30,000 Italian restaurants around here. Not one fucking Mexican one.
How about a Mexican-Italian eatery?
Combine best of both worlds?
Sure.
Yeah, sure, why not? You get a
Sounds
cannoli and, you know.
Ooh.
I don't like cannolis. They're too sugary.
No.
Reminds me of diabetes.
You're doing it wrong. Cannolis are delicious. Anyway, we gotta take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about Big Trouble in Little China. Stay with us. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We're talking about Big Trouble in Little China. And that's from John Carpenter, who we talked about a little bit earlier. Kind of a strange offering from him, especially considering the rest of his filmography, but one that I appreciated, especially for the Chinese mysticism that's in this, and not something that you get very often from like a Hollywood film. And you were talking about a controversy that kind of came up around the same time that Big Trouble in Little China was released.
Not really controversy.
Yeah, I mean, but it was an issue that John Carpenter had. You can go ahead and relay that.
The great Eddie Murphy movie at the time, The Golden Child. Have you ever seen The Golden Child?
No.
Oh, I have. That came out around the same time. That was, had like Chinese mysticism in it, and John Carpenter was to say, how many fucking films like this? And I'm paraphrasing. He didn't curse like this, but he's like, how many films like this have come out in like the history of Hollywood? Not that many. Why are there two of them coming out at the same time? That's a pretty odd coincidence. No, at the same time, when you think about it, kind of is it, because the mid-'80s was like a time of kind of more like Eastern Asian like inspired films. Like Temple of Doom came out before this.
Yeah, and I think that you do see quite a bit of resemblance
to like an Indiana Jones film.
An Indiana Jones film in this.
Which after you watch this, you could say like, wow, Kurt Russell could be Indiana Jones.
I see Indiana Jones. I see a little bit of like Star Wars. And I see...
I wouldn't agree with the Star Wars.
I mean, I see like Labyrinth a little bit. There's all those kind of fantasy crossovers that you
get.
The
80s did have, like especially the mid-80s, did have a lot of fantasy films.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Never-Ending Story.
Sure, yeah.
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, I see. Yep, quite a bit of a resemblance there. So yeah, it's not like this was totally uncommon for that time period. Maybe specifically Chinese mysticism, a little coincidental, but I'm assuming they're quite different, even though they do share like the thematic idea.
I mean, I don't remember The Golden Child really at all, because it's been fucking forever since I've seen it, but
yeah, I'm assuming that it's not that similar, even though it has the Chinese mysticism aspect to it. But yeah.
Which I think if I remember from that, that's like kind of like more like Indiana Jones too, where it's like, oh, we're gonna,
Mm-hmm. Definitely a lot of potential money-making scenarios for copying the Indiana Jones franchise.
Which in of itself is a copy.
As the Alan Quatermain films can attest. No, but Big Trouble in Little China is, I think, from after watching this, an interesting premise simply because of how kind of off the wall it is. It's a very crazy film, and really it does not let up from the opening scenes of the film to like getting right into the crux of the plot and almost pretty much throwing the viewer and Kurt Russell's character Jack Burton into this ridiculous idea of like one of all of these like Chinese figures battling it out. It's kind of a crazy scenario.
Yeah, it is, and it's cool. Like apparently, the original script was supposed to be set in 1880s Western.
Ah, now,
but they deemed it too crazy, too stupid, wouldn't work, and impossible.
Well, it's interesting.
So they hired like new writers to like make it more contemporary, and then.
I mean, it's interesting because you can kind of see those ideas in play at certain points in the film. That the opening scene where Jack Burton and his partner Wang are sitting in his truck, and they are like in the midst of a gang battle. That's sort of like gun blazing, sort of kung fu, weaponry. That a lot of that feels like part of a Western. You could kind of see that
Warriors,
or like a spaghetti Western style standoff at first. You get that sort of like hand on the hip, on the holster. You get it's like a weird mix of both ideas, but I think it works in this scenario because you're almost expected to see the homage in it. You're supposed to see and really you are, as an audience member, in that same position as Jack Burton, who's basically sitting in this truck in the middle of this gun and kung fu battle, going, "What? What is that? Who's that? What is happening right now?" You're kind of that same.
Yeah, just imagine Tom Cruise in The Mummy, except better, because Kurt Russell's 1,000 times better than Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Well, I think that this film is interesting in that Kurt Russell here is
not your stereotypical Kurt Russell.
Right, not the same Kurt Russell that you think of when you think of The Thing, when you think of Escape from New York. This is Jack Burton is not Snake Plissken. He's essentially as far away from Snake Plissken as you can get with Kurt Russell in that role, because Snake Plissken, he's like an everyman. He can do anything. He's
well, Jack Burton's an everyman too.
Well, Jack Burton's an everyman, but in Big Trouble in Little China, he's essentially useless for a lot of the film. He's leading the way, he's leading the charge, he's getting all the credit. But in a lot of scenarios,
it's not him. It's Wong.
Yeah, he's not actually doing any of the work, and I think that's part of the joke is that he's getting everything in return for really not doing that much at all, and that is an opposite of what Kurt Russell normally plays. Like here, he's kind of the joke. He's the
buffoon.
He's the goofball of the troupe. Whereas Wang, he's not really your typical hero, except he mostly is doing all of the work here.
Well, no, he is too, because I think Wang does come off more as your typical hero because he's the straight man.
I don't know. I almost find that
he's the one who's actually truly invested in this. Kurt Russell isn't. He just wants his damn money.
Yeah, in his truck.
So at the end, it's portrayed as Kurt's the hero and Wang's the sidekick, but in reality, it's Wang's the hero, Kurt Russell's the bumbling buffoon sidekick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting premise. And like I said, it's definitely different from the Kurt Russell John Carpenter movies, because in most of those, like The Thing, Kurt Russell's kind of a standoffish guy, and he's leading the charge, or I say charge, but I really mean he's leading like the investigation into who's actually the Thing. In Escape from New York, he is not really, he's like an anti-hero in that sense. He's not really like a character that you always root for, but he is your only avenue into like the actual, he's not the same type of criminal that you would see on the streets of New York that are in the precinct, the city prison. But here he's definitely more of a comedic role. He is almost relegated to a sidekick status, as you said, even though he is our main character. I think that's really interesting, and I think you're right when you say that Kurt Russell plays this off really well, whereas some other people might not have come across as well as Kurt Russell does. He has a lot of range, even though he's given a more comedic role. He's great as a serious role like Snake Plissken, but he's also really good in this, and I don't know at this time how many people would have pegged Kurt Russell to be a good, comedic character for this type of film. I don't know how many roles he was getting that are like similar to Jack Burton.
Well, at the time, he was still kind of like, an indie guy.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's funny, because it's funny when you think about it, when you look back at like Escape from New York and The Thing, like, oh, they're considered classics and some of the best films within their genre of all time. It's not like they were big at the time. A lot of people, like,
Yeah, Escape from New York has really become more of a cult thing.
Well, it's the same thing with this film, too. It's like the same thing with, like, almost all John Carpenter films, that, like, it takes, years for people to be like, oh, yeah, that was something. I mean, I find it funny because originally, like, the studio wanted, like, Clint Eastwood or Jack Nicholson to do this.
Yeah, that would be a terrible pick for this film.
Oh, so I totally agree.
Clint Eastwood in this scenario would
be too dry.
Yeah.
Way too dry. I love Clint, but he would just be way too dry and miserable. And Jack would probably be hamming it up, like, way too much. Like,
yeah, would not have been a good fit. I can't see Jack Nicholson in this at all. And
I have a hard time with Clint.
Clint, I could kind of see, but I think it would be a much more serious film at that point. Like, and then it would be totally ruined. Like, Big Trouble in Little China would not be the film that we know it as now, because you would have that more serious role, from Clint, and I think those jokes that occur around Jack Burton would fall flat because
they wouldn't
really
happen at all,
or they wouldn't happen
because he'd probably be like, John, I'm not doing that shit.
Right? Yeah. It would.
What is this bullshit that's happening?
It would have been a completely different film, and probably not that successful. And I would say probably not the cult film that it is now.
It would inspire him later on to make Gran Torino.
Yeah. All right, so plot-wise, this is a very complex film in that there's a lot of things happening, and I feel like on purpose the storyline is sort of vague. It's they're giving you a lot of this Chinese mysticism and throwing it at you really quickly.
Well, it's funny you say complex, because it sounds like it's complex, but it's not complex at all.
No, yeah, when you boil it down, it's the idea is not complex, but the surrounding plot points about it of there's this guy named Lo Pan and he's been stripped of his flesh and an ancient curse, and he's trying to get a girl with green eyes. There's two girls with green eyes. There's a lot of things that occur in this film that really make it a lot more convoluted than it is. And I think that's to the film's benefit, is that there's stuff going on and you're just kind of like trying to follow it. And you're in that same situation as Kurt Russell's character, Jack Burton, because he's also trying to follow this thing and then seeing people with electricity shooting out of their hands and wearing crazy straw hats and people fighting with green mist and stuff like that.
It makes me think of Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat.
My God, it's very similar to Mortal Kombat.
When in the Mortal Kombat film, where, after they get on the ship to head to Shang Tsung's island for the tournament, and he sees Shang Tsung, summoning souls and Scorpion Spear and Sub-Zero's ice, he's like, I just saw ice and lightning coming from the sky. What the hell is going on? It's literally, they took that from, this movie. Like, they're trying to explain all the Chinese mysticism and sorcery and black magic to, Kurt Russell, and he's just like, what the hell's going on? Where's my truck? Why none of this makes sense? This is nonsense. I'm going home. Where's my money?
Yeah. You know what? Basically, Big Trouble in Little China is the story of a man in love with his truck and trying to get it back.
Well, his truck's his job. If he doesn't have his truck, he can't make money.
Yeah, it's there's a love triangle or a love relationship between Jack Burton and Gracie Law, who's played by Kim Cattrall, but really, she's no match for this man in his truck, because that's the real love story here.
Or his hair.
Reuniting Kurt Russell with his truck, making sure that he has his CB radio so he can tell his...
Could have been Convoy,
Yeah. No, I love trucker Kurt Russell. It's great.
You got the trucker hat.
Yeah, he's got a trucker hat, says Harley Davidson on it. Another advertisement. The film is full of advertisements, just kind of thrown in there. Harley Davidson, Miller Lite, Puma, which is a weird part of the film, just a Puma truck out of nowhere.
I know, it just cuts him off, and you get this focuses on that truck for 5 seconds, just in case you didn't know. Puma.
Hey, John Carpenter needed funding. I can't fault him there.
Well, it is a Hollywood film.
Yeah.
Probably went over budget, so they're like, who can we get mad?
It was all that, the special lightning effects, which in 1985 were not easy to do.
Wasn't that probably rotoscoped?
Probably. It was not an easy task to insert lightning into films at that time.
But it looks great.
It does look cool in this film. It's not.
I'm pretty sure it had to have been. They probably had to rotoscope it.
Yeah, and if you like, I've watched a couple of other films with this sort of lightning effect in them, and they did say it is not easy to do that sort of effect, especially in Big Trouble in Little China. I could just imagine, because it's a big part of the film. There's a lot of like little tendrils of lightning and stuff like that. I'm sure it wasn't easy to put that in there. It was more of like a stylistic choice.
Just imagine, like, okay, this guy can summon lightning, and and rides it and shoots it. Again, you can see like the inspiration it had like on Mortal Kombat.
For Raiden.
Yeah, for Raiden.
I mean,
and Lo Pan being Shang Tsung.
They absolutely look a lot like those guys. They look like Raiden.
Yeah.
Three Raidens.
But I mean, so you had like the one that could, control and manipulate lightning. I imagine someone like seeing that, like the idea on it, like, can you make it fire? And fire's a lot easier to do.
Yeah, we can do fire.
Like wind would be even better, because you don't have to do anything. Just make them go whoosh,
Yeah.
Can you do that? No, he's got to be lightning. Oh, fuck, okay. Well, there goes a third of the budget and a lot of, time. Okay, whatever. All right. Let me add 6 more months to production on this.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, Big Trouble in Little China has quite a few effects in it. And is almost kind of like a precursor to a lot of things. We talk about Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball. So, definitely a similarity there, which was, I think...
Well, Dragon Ball was going on at the time.
Dragon Ball was 1986? I think it was it that early? I thought it was a little bit later than that. But maybe,
it might have been. I think maybe
I'm wrong.
I know the manga. Yeah, the manga had to have been.
It was early. I know that. Dragon Ball Z was in the 80s, so Dragon Ball would have been around that time. I don't know exactly. But yeah, I mean, but a lot of similarities to that, and certainly I'm assuming inspiration for Big Trouble in Little China also came from anime and manga as well. Because you get a lot of that influence. It's kind of, it's interesting to think about that, because
it's an amalgamation.
Well, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z in the United States didn't really make it that big until way later. But it had been out for a long time. Even things like Yu Yu Hakusho, way later in the United States than it was in Japan.
Like 7-8 years.
Yeah, and when you think about it, with Big Trouble in Little China, not that earlier than some of those huge anime shows that we didn't get to.
Well, if you think about it, the only anime really that was airing at the time was Robotech.
Yeah.
Which isn't technically what they ended up doing, was taking 3 different anime series
and then cutting them together and
to make it
making a monster.
But I mean, like if you were like an American anime fan of the '80s, that had to have been hell. Like
trying to find anything.
Yeah, like you'd be tape trading, like like you used to be like wrestling. Like, oh, I heard of Cactus Jack and Terry Funk had a great match in like Japan. It was a death match. How'd you get it? This shitty copy like on VHS I had trade 10 different times to get to.
But I could also see, like, if you were an anime fan in the 80s and Big Trouble in Little China was coming out, you were probably psyched. Because you could see the inspiration in this. You can see the this is almost like an anime come to live action, or even like a video game, in terms of like you have multiple boss battles. It's very much in that same scenario of like when they're first infiltrating the Lo Pan's like court. I don't know what it is, like a building. I don't know. It's some sort of like
exchange.
Yeah, some sort of factory building.
They bring in exotic things from the East.
Yeah. And they're infiltrating that, and they get out. They got to go back. They have to fight, sub bosses before they get to the main boss. It is very much like a video game in that sense, and
it's like Streets of Rage.
Yeah, and it's very entertaining in that sense, because there's never really a let up to it either, because you are consistently within like an action scenario. There may be some sort of exposition, and most of that's delivered by either Wang or Egg Shen. And Egg Shen is really like a Donald Pleasance character in this film. It's very much of the John Carpenter type of like the guru.
They even give him the like Donald Pleasance eye.
Yep, Donald Pleasance eye. It's very much like a Donald Pleasance character who knows everything and is relaying it to the main characters. So it's pretty interesting how that works out too, because it's kind of like that stereotypical John Carpenter storyline. But I guess we haven't really talked about like some of the weirdness of the film besides like those characters. They can do magic and they have electricity shooting out of their hands. They can shoot green beams and fly and things like that. But we haven't talked about some of the other things like the one of the monsters that's in it, which is kind of just
there
in the film. Yeah, it's like it's almost like a monster that just pops out of nowhere.
But that makes sense though, because like again, like you just like said about like the magic. The magic's not explained. It's just why are they able to do this?
Chinese mysticism,
Sure, yeah.
legends and myths, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm not saying that
no, and it's not a bad thing because do you really want to be bogged down in like a 20-minute part where like explain like they had it's like if they remade it today. Because this is an under 2-hour film. So if it was made today, it'd be a 2-hour plus film. They'd have a whole 20-minute section just like dedicated to like a flashback of like Lo Pan fighting the first Chinese emperor, then getting cursed, and that makes him immortal, and he has to seek to marry a woman with green eyes to make him a flesh and blood to atone for his sins. And this is how all the magic works.
I was actually thinking it was gonna be like 2 hours, but it's a very truncated hour and 40 minutes, and I think that's perfect. It's perfect for the film. You don't need any more. Like you said, you don't need all that backstory. You don't need an explanation about why they have Chinese magic. They just do. It's Chinese mysticism. You go with it. If you're not open to going with that idea, then you shouldn't be watching Big Trouble in Little China, because it doesn't need it. You just go with the flow.
No, it's like the biggest example would be like the original Star Wars. What's the Force?
Yeah.
It's a powerful force that controls all of nature.
Midichlorians.
Okay, yeah, no, and then it's like you add that. It's like, all right, George, you ruined it.
Yeah. No, but I think it really works, especially because for the audience, you're basically the same as Jack Burton. You're in the same situation. Jack Burton doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He doesn't need to know why there's Chinese mysticism. He's busy running for his life.
And even if you wanted to tell him, do you think he'd care?
No.
He wouldn't care.
He just wants his truck and his money. So it doesn't matter what's going on. He just wants to get that stuff and get out of there and not deal with the rest of it. So I think the monster works. I'm not saying that I wish that it wasn't in here. I think it's a funny moment. It's almost like a Scooby-Doo moment when Kim Cattrall is pulled into this
I know, total dumbass, lean the back of the pack to like escape from the building, and like this little vaultway opens, and like, hey, and like instead of just go like, no, I want to get the hell out of here. She's like, who, mate? Like, looks in there and then gets pulled in.
What's also stupid is she's supposed to be the following up with the train. They have like a train going to make sure that everybody's okay. So for her to get pulled in at the end of it is like that was a total dumb move for her. But anyways, it is like a Scooby-Doo moment almost, where he's standing behind a statue, looking through the statue's eyes.
Yeah, poor Daphne's getting
Daphne's stolen again. Yeah, it's definitely a fun moment. So I don't think that the monster doesn't work in the film. It's just funny to see that it's here. And you also have the like eyeball creature, the weird eyeball creature that's kind of just there, and part of the film adds that fantasy element that we were talking about a little bit, and doesn't really.
And the fucking worm.
Oh yeah, and a worm insect thing that
just comes out of a hole and takes somebody, and Eggshell just like throws like a sorcery grenade at it, never to be seen from again. And Kurt Russell's like, what the hell was that? And like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and that's a moment that never comes up again.
I know, it's just it's just hilarious.
One and done. Just John Carpenter was like, we need something here. And like, throw an insect worm in there. That'll be perfect.
Prelude to Tremors.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean those moments are good because, again, like I said, there's no let up here. So even in those scenes where not really anything's happening, it seems like they're safe, you have those moments where random things pop up. And it makes sense, too, because they're importing weird goods. And part of those weird goods are probably a monster and an eyeball guy. There's no explanation, and it's not needed. One thing that I think is interesting is that there's two women with green eyes in this film. Kim Cattrall's character, Gracie Law, and the main woman that's the woman with the green eyes that Lo Pan wants to make into his mistress slash sex slave slash whatever she's going to be, Mao Yin. And that's kind of an interesting idea too, is that he only needs one green-eyed woman to make sure that the curse is lifted so that he can become flesh and blood, but he's going to have two anyway. You know, he's going to...
That's pretty nifty idea too, because they do bring it up, like, because if you think about it, probably like ancient China, they think like, what are the chances of somebody being born here that has green eyes?
Yeah, green eyes, they say women don't have green eyes in China.
Yeah. So that's it's a pretty clever,
It is, and, Kim Cattrall is not Chinese, but he's open to it. She's a sexy lady anyway.
I just love how he's just like he's just like so pessimistic about relationships. Like, we keep trying, though they always lead us to our demise.
Yeah,
bitches. It's fucking just like hilarious. Like, oh, old man,
Yeah. Lo Pan's a fun character for sure.
He's getting ready to like marry Miao Yin. He's like, oh, come on, my dear, it won't hurt. It'll be fine. She's like, no, get away. He's like, no, like, it won't be bad at all. She's like, God, stop it. He's like, bitch!
yeah, that's right. Yeah, she is like that. One thing that I think is really interesting is Mao Yin, she's the main conceit in this film, played by Susie Pye. She really doesn't have a whole lot of stuff to do on screen. She basically lays around and...
Well, because she's the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
She's a living MacGuffin.
But one thing that really I thought was interesting was that she doesn't even get any speaking roles or anything. This was a really laid back role for Susie Pye, who didn't really actually do that much. She didn't do very many movies.
Just be Sleeping
Yeah,
Beauty.
I'm pretty sure it was just basically the fact that they could use her as green eyes. She's pretty. She's good on camera, and just make sure that you are pretty relaxed on screen the whole time. And that was the amount of direction that John Carpenter gave her. Kind of an interesting role for her. Wonder how much she was happy with that role, just like not doing anything.
Got paid.
Susie, you're overacting here. Just don't do anything.
Corpse.
Yeah.
More corpse like.
Lay on the slab, please. All right, so plot-wise, anything else that you want to discuss before we get into other stuff?
No, I mean it's
we covered quite a bit. It's a fun plot.
I will say, bring it up. Exposition's usually not a good thing. This film does it great though, because it's very on the nose, because it's trying to. Like literally, like all the stuff that's like needs to be explained is explained to you word for word. Like you're an idiot because that's how it's supposed to be. And I like that. And what's going on? Oh, it's the gangs, they're fighting. What gangs? And it's like, oh, these gangs, they've been doing this forever. Why? Here's why, Yeah,
and that dialogue is very snappy, too.
Yeah, and...
It's very quick and snappy because it's almost at the beginning of the film.
It goes throughout the entire film.
Yeah, it does, but there's a moment at the beginning where Jack and Gracie and Wang, they're all in his restaurant. And there's a snappy scene, this very quick and fast-paced scene where everybody's kind of delivering this information to Jack Burton.
And we're meeting characters too, and it's like, who the hell are you?
We're meeting Eddie.
All of a sudden you get Eddie and the news writer there, and you're like, wait, who the hell are you? Oh, this is why I'm here. You're like, don't you know? Oh, okay. Then who the hell are you?
Yeah, it's a fun moment. I think that's a really excellent scene because it is so fast paced. I imagine that's difficult to actually film. You know what I mean? To actually get that right, get the pacing right.
It's slapstick with words.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, and it's good. And surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, I should say, but I think Kim Cattrall does a really good job in this film. I think is a fun character and really hits all those notes pretty well.
Though a little wooden.
You think so?
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost part and parcel of her character, though. Like, even her name, Gracie Law, is almost like a play on...
I know. I mean, well, yeah, like the stereotypical... I think, towards the end, she gets better, but I think at points in the beginning, she's a little wooden on, her delivery. I don't know if it's intentional or not.
I thought it was fine. I didn't find any fault.
I'm not saying it's, bad, but I'm just saying, could have had a little more pep. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I can see it both ways because I can see that it's intentional in terms of like just a kind of a wooden character, and even that's kind of hinted at too in that Jack Burton, he kind of sees that too, and she's only just like a love interest for a second. It's almost like, well, you're here, you're a female body, and
which is great. Again, like I love like the film like understanding what it is like at the end, and like she like suggests like maybe you could get a bigger truck and big enough for two, and he's like, nah. And he's like getting ready to leave, and like, you're not gonna kiss her goodbye? And he's like, nope.
Yeah.
And then just
yeah, it totally gets that in that the hero gets the girl and he doesn't care. This isn't a James Bond film where James Bond is working through.
Christmas doesn't come twice. He didn't know Christmas comes twice a year.
Yeah. And then also,
by the way, that took me quite a while to hop on that joke. 8-year-old me didn't quite understand.
Didn't get that one.
No.
And then the other thing too is that the film's not afraid to make a mockery of Kurt Russell's character either, because there is that scene where they both Jack Burton and Kim Cattrall's character Gracie make out, and it leaves Jack Burton with a nice set of lipstick on his lips.
Oh, that's great.
He
Him just
continues
yeah.
to deliver macho dialogue lines
until she literally has to go here and like wipes it off.
Yeah, it's a great moment, and I like that about John Carpenter is that he's not afraid to make his quote unquote macho character into kind of a mockery, into the joke.
Well, again, like he's got they're getting ready for the big fight scene. What's he do? He fires his gun off, and then he shoots debris, has debris fall on his head, and he's knocked out for a couple of minutes for the fight.
I do like that it's not as lighthearted and over the top as some other films that really do make a mockery of their hero, that are more so like a sarcastic parody. This isn't overall a total parody of the hero character, but it isn't afraid to make fun of him, and I like that about this film rather than some of the more lighthearted fare. Speaking of lighthearted, I really like the John Carpenter Alan Howarth soundtrack in this, because it has those moments of 80s soundtrack songs, especially the Escape or the Big Trouble in Little China theme song, which is just an artifact of 80s songwriting.
Reminds me of the Kirby theme.
Yeah, kind of Kirby.
Kind of like the Fox Kirby cartoons, like Kirby. Lyrics are just like Big Trouble in Little China. Big Trouble in Little China.
Doesn't really go much deeper than that.
Yeah, a little synth more like Big Trouble in Little China.
No, but what I like about it is actually the more plotting synth scores when there's action scenes, because they almost feel like Escape from New York style, synth lines. They're more serious, and then you have that Asian flair to them. And I like that. I think that's a good mix. Escape from New York's synth lines, they work really well because that is a very serious film, and you have that sort of melancholy synth line, dangers around every corner sort of.
It's almost kind of, the synth kind of is almost kind of reminds me of the Caribbean kind of sound from Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Not quite, because Day of the Dead's very much, way skewing to this, but this kind of has kind of more like a tone like that.
Yeah, and I can see that. I like it quite a bit. I like the soundtrack.
No, I do too.
I think it has some good moments and
get your blood pumping.
It does, yeah. It has those
again makes you think Mortal Kombat. I'm sure Dan Ford, when he's scoring those early Mortal Kombat games, is let's get something like the theme for this,
Yeah, it's the pacing of the synth that's kind of upbeat and fast paced and fingers are moving on the keys. I think that's what we get from this score, and it works well. It keeps the film feeling fast paced, along with the plotting, which just continues to go and go and go. And I think it works. So, what else you got? What haven't we talked about yet?
Actors. Besides Kurt Russell and Kim Cattrall.
Yeah.
I think the cast in this is very good. A lot of, not well-known actors, because good on this film.
For actually going with the
Chinese
actors.
Chinese-American cast.
This isn't a Fu Manchu film with Christopher Lee and the...
Which I guess when the Carpenter was editing some of the bits of the script, he took out some of the more racist parts. He's like, this isn't fucking This Girl Friday and, shit like that.
Yeah, because, you could totally see how this would skew towards a more racist approach, especially from white directors and writers. Perhaps not even realizing that some of it was racist, but it doesn't really, even now, it doesn't feel racist in that it's mocking Chinese films or anything like that. It's just, like I said, sometimes it skews more towards parody, but I don't think that's offensive. I just think that it's a fun tongue-in-cheek poke at some of the kung fu films of the 70s and stuff like that. Even those action scenes where people are, Wang and some of the other guys like Thunder and Lightning, they're jumping in the air like dolphins, jumping and fighting with swords.
I know, it's great. It's over the top.
It's over the top, but it's not offensive, and it's not like they're making fun. They're just parodying
Well, no, but it's also supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's like
you'd expect what you're assuming to be godlike beings to be able to jump long, distances and have that. How Wong's able to do it? Who the hell knows?
He just manages.
Chinese mysticism. Was it the drink that they had before that made he's like, I feel, I feel better. I feel like invincible. I could take on anything. Who knows? You don't need to know. Yep. It's just the fun of what's going on with the action sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Wang's really good. He's played by Dennis Dunn. Good, even though he's technically really the hero of this film, he does play a good sidekick as well. And I think he works out well. He's the knowledgeable guy.
And he's the straight man.
The straight man. Yep. He's good. I think James Hong is good as Lo Pan as well.
He's great.
He's
very menacing.
Yeah, very menacing and sinister. Sometimes funny, like you mentioned, when he's talking about how much he loves Mao Yin, and then she does something to him, like she's
offend him. Yeah, she's like, bitch.
Yeah, he's very funny in that sense.
Great makeup they have for his ghost and his old decrepit form.
Yes, yeah, the burn, the sort of burning skin look to him. That is good. I think that Egg Shen, Victor Wong, is pretty good as well. He can often play the comedic aspect to it, recognizing the humor in his character as being sort of that wizened guru. So that works. Actually, and surprisingly, Kate Burton as Margot, the reporter, though her character is sort of unnecessary in this film, she does a good job with it. With some of her more humorous notes, just talking about how I think the film actually pokes fun at how useless she is as a person, in this fight,
and a random love interest for
Eddie. Yeah.
Just out of the blue,
yeah, out of nowhere, they're just like, well, I like her and she likes me, so
it reminds me of The Witcher 3, where after the Battle of Kaer Morhen, the pissy Witcher.
Mm-hmm. I know who you're talking about.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
and the one sorceress, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we're together now.
We're together, yeah.
Oh.
It's funny how those things happen in the heat of battle. Other than that, I would say that there's not really anybody else that stands out for acting. That's pretty much the main cast. One thing that we have to commend, though, are the stunt crew who did all of the crazy explosion jumps.
Oh, I love that. That is a trope for me in action films that I hope they bring back.
Yeah.
I love nothing more in like an action film, even if it's like grounded, just like when explosions and gunfires, just like them just jumping. Like, you know.
Right,
like I said, like I was telling you, we were watching like one of the great like parodies of that is like the Austin Powers film. So it's like they're raiding Dr. Evil's base and all the henchmen just getting blown to shit off, balconies and whatnot, flying 50 feet.
Realistically, if an explosion goes off, you're either getting shredded by shrapnel, or your legs are taken out and you're just fucking lying on the ground holding stumps and screaming out in agony. In these types of films, these action films from the 80s, you have explosions and just guys flying into the air in like a crazy fashion, thrown up into the air 50 feet, but then they land and they're okay. They're fine. That's a much better scenario for an explosion. I would prefer that. I'd prefer to just get thrown in the air and be like, well, that was a fun ride. Explosions. I'll do it again.
At least you can brace yourself when you're like going for
Yeah, exactly. You just do it. Yeah, whatever. That's, but props to those stunt guys who had to perform all those explosion maneuvers. Other than that, do you think Kurt Russell did most of his stunts? I think so.
Probably.
It seems like it.
He looks like a man who would do his...
He just does his own stunts.
Yeah.
It's not like there was a lot of stunts for him to do in this film. Like, he doesn't have that many that are crazy, outlandish.
I found it funny too, the whole him on the wheelchair going down.
Oh, yes.
That huge grade. It's like, yeah, because he's not going to tip over ass over tea kettle on the way down.
Yeah.
Just.
That reminds me, too. I don't understand the physics of him pulling himself up from the giant well that he's leaning over.
When I saw that, I was like, I'd be fucked. I don't have the upper body strength.
No, I don't even understand the physics of it, though. How are you doing that? What is he doing to pull himself up? I don't get it.
It just looks cool.
Chinese mysticism.
Looks cool.
It does look cool. Made him look like a beefy man.
Oh, he is a beefy man. You don't have to see him do something. You can just look and
Yeah. All right. What else you got?
A little bit more about the effects, because we only briefly talked about it with like the lightning. Effects in this film are great. Like the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Lopan's makeup for when he's a ghost and when he's in his old decrepit form looks absolutely great. I like you got the very famous head popping.
Oh yeah.
Which again, why does he do that when he sees Lopan? Like all of a sudden decides to like self-destruct. Who knows?
He commits suicide.
Just looks cool.
Yeah. I would say that I think that the monster is probably the weak special effect in this film. Well, it just basically looks like a guy running around in a suit with a mask on.
Yeah, but
I'm not.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
I mean, that was again like they probably, like we said, they probably just like that was a last minute thing. Like, let's have a monster.
Yeah, throw it in there. So we need a scare for the end.
So at the end we can be like, oh, he's on the truck.
Yeah, that is a really random moment for him to just be, for the monster to be on the truck at the end.
You'd think like the way the film starts off with its egg shed and like the lawyer's office.
Yeah, that
like it would all circle back to that and
yeah, and it totally doesn't. It just kind of leaves that out.
No.
It's just like here's the first opening part of the narrative, and then we'll forget about the rest of the lawyer stuff, which is it does again. That first part seems like maybe when they premiered the movie for like a test audience, people were kind of confused as to how it all began or something. So they were like needing to add a scenario to the beginning. And it seems kind of, I don't know, random how that takes place. But I don't know. It's not a big deal to me. I can forget about it. Should we rate the film?
Sure, why not?
Give it a rating. All right. So out of 10, what do I want to give this? Out of 10, I don't know. Out of 10 hauling ass truck decals. What would you give Big Trouble in Little China?
I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I like this film a lot. It's a very fun film. It's probably Carpenter's funnest film.
Yeah, like I said before, I can't really see him now doing a film like Big Trouble in Little China. Seems like more of a crotchety old guy. Not into having any fun.
But no, I think it's really fun. The premise is outlandish and goofy, but it works really well. I think the action in this, though, compared to a lot of action films, especially at the time, kind of underwhelming. It's still fun. I think Kurt Russell was fantastic in this. Definitely gets to show his comedic range. Like the whole intro is like of him like being dressed up and you're like, oh geez, money's no object, really good, really good. I think the cast overall in this film is very good, especially James Hwang as Lo Pan, and Victor Wong as Egg Shen. It's just a really fun, good film. It's very enjoyable. If you like action comedies, I think you'll like this.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would go right in that same range.
I can see how this became a cult classic. I could see totally how it would not work at the box office, but years later.
Especially when people picked it up on like VHS and then shared it around. Like,
yeah,
hey, check this out. This is a fun film.
Yeah, probably when if think about the days of the video store. You look at the box art for this on like VHS, you're like, what is this? This looks interesting.
Oh yeah,
then be like, oh, it's a really good fun film.
I can see it, and I can see it by word of mouth. Like people may not have been, wooed by it at the theater, but word of mouth, people seeing it and saying like, this is really fun. It reminds me of like old style kung fu movies and stuff like that. I can definitely see how it would prosper on home video. But I would be right there with you with the rating. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I've never seen it before, but I think it was a lot of fun, really fast paced. Love the John Carpenter, Alan Howarth soundtrack. Kurt Russell's a blast in this. Definitely gets to flex his comedic muscles here, and I think that it works really well. I don't see a lot of other people being able to pull it off like he does in this. Surprisingly, thought that all the rest of the cast, the secondary crew and cast were really good as well, even though they're pretty much not well known. Kim Cattrall I thought was really good.
I'll say it is one of her better roles because I'm not a big Kim Cattrall fan.
No, I think she does a fine job with it. It fits with the character in here with the emerald green eyes and stuff like that. So I thought she did a good job here too. And I think that overall it's just a really fun film. If you like kung fu movies, you like more of the action films of the 80s, especially like we talked about Indiana Jones films, some of the more fantasy situated films of the 80s, like Labyrinth and some of the other films, Never Ending Story in that vein. You're definitely going to like this.
The Golden Child.
Yeah, exactly. You're definitely going to like this. And definitely check it out too if you've never seen it, but you're a big John Carpenter fan, because I think you'll see a different side to his work. That's kind of important in terms of like viewing his artistic contributions to film.
This is the film that got him out of Hollywood.
Yeah, pretty much.
He said, I've had enough of this bullshit.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to start doing independent films.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a lot different than what you might see from some of his other films. So it's important to check it out and see, some of the other influences that obviously made an impact on him in his career. So I guess with that, that's it. I keep saying that. Big Trouble in Little China. Fun film. I'm glad I saw it.
It's like you got Escape from New York in the mind.
That's right.
As if that's the next film you want to do.
No, it's not. I mean, I see it on IMDb, so that's what's kind of making me say that. But what is the next film that we're doing?
I don't know.
What's next week?
Not September.
All right, so we're not announcing our big special Halloween series yet. So we got one more week to fill. That's a good question. We'll have to think about it a little bit because I don't really want to do another action film.
As long as you don't pick fucking Mako.
No, you can rest assured we're never doing Mako again. So,
You mean to tell me there isn't a delicious sequel for that?
no, I mean there's tons of shark movies that we could do if you want to do another shark movie.
No.
We could
You can't
we could go with Piranha.
Fuck James Cameron now.
We could go with Tentacles, the octopus movie.
That a hentai?
No. We could do another Dario Argento film, Phenomena. That just is releasing on Blu-ray in a regular edition from Synapse Films because they released like a special, like packed steel box edition, but this is the regular edition. We could do that. Phenomena.
Hey.
We did Tenebrae. It would make sense.
We'll see.
All right.
Who knows?
Who knows? It's another mystery.
Maybe we'll come back and do a Disney movie.
That would be fun. Moana.
Can do
Mulan.
No, I was thinking something more topical. Song of the South.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Song of
I
the South?
have not.
Okay, then I guess you don't get the joke then.
I don't.
You'll have to look it up.
All right.
That's the one that has zippity doo on it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Zippity day.
Yeah. I know how the song goes.
My oh my, it's a hot fucking day.
Yes. All right. Time for administrative stuff. We are, as always, on Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, Twitter is at Blood and Black Rum. You can tweet us on there, retweet us, follow us. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and in pretty much any other podcasting app that you use. Please leave us a review and rate us 5 stars if you would. That helps us out tremendously. We are on SoundCloud. That's where our episodes go up first. We have an email address, bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from you, so write to us, and we may read your comments on the show. And we also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. If you feel the need to donate to us and help us out, we really appreciate it. You can donate whatever you want. It comes out monthly. Just keep that in mind. Also, visit us at our website, bloodandblackrumpodcast.wordpress.com. Or you can also visit cultsploitation.com, which is our podcast network. And if you're interested in joining, please hit us up down there and let us know. And we would love to have you as a friend. All right, so we will be back next time with an unspecified movie, probably a horror movie. And until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Have fun.